I Need a Break, Exploring Gap Year Opportunities. So thank you for joining us for week 2 of boot camp. I'm so glad you're here. And Samantha, I'm going to let you take it away. But as always, students, if you have questions, I'll be managing the chat. So I feel free to do that. And Sam, if it's okay, I'll interrupt you during your presentation to ask any questions that might come up, or if you prefer to do that at the end. Do you have any preference?
Yeah, I think if you want to stop me and interrupt me, that's totally fine.
Excellent. Okay, well, I'll let you take it away.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Nice to have you here, and I hope you're all enjoying the winter boot camp and all the informational sessions that have been going on. So this is the one about gap years, and I'm looking forward to, talking to you all about what to do with one and what they are. Like Kim said, my name is Samantha Dawson, and I work primarily with pre-health students. I'm an assistant director and career coach for the health professions here at the UCC. And I'm also the instructor for LANS 172, Exploring Health Professions. And so before we jump into all of the informational stuff, I just want to give a brief outline or roadmap, if you will, of what we're going to be talking about. So the first, I'm going to explain what a gap year is, of course. Then we're going to talk about some of the myths surrounding gap years, some of the common gap year experiences, other benefits to taking a gap year, and then go over some of the resources I think might be most relevant for you all. So any questions before we get started? Not seeing any? All right. So then let's jump right in. So I love starting conversations off with defining the terms involved, especially when those terms are often thrown around as buzzwords for most of us. So you probably already guessed, a gap year is usually referring to the time between the end of one form of schooling and the beginning of another, where you're no longer a student. So this could mean graduating high school and then going directly into an associate's or a bachelor's degree. Or it could mean graduating with your undergraduate degree and then taking time off before pursuing a graduate program or a professional school. What makes a gap year, so to speak, is that it isn't just time off from school, but that it's intentional, that it has a focus, and you're deliberately trying to expand your own horizons. So the emphasis is on experiential learning or getting hands-on experiences during this time off that maybe the structure of academia might not have allowed you to do previously. It means challenging yourself, getting out of your comfort zone, and honing in your skills as a professional. And so let's jump right into some of these myths. So we now know that gap years are meant to be intentional and deliberate, and that they should have a goal or a focus. And so we can kind of start dispelling some of these viewpoints or these myths surrounding them. Many of you might have already heard a lot of these before, but gap years are often talked about or thought about as resume killers due to this gap of missing time in a program or in a career, and that you might be wasting your time if you just don't keep going into a program or continue with schooling. Many believe that to be successful, you need to power through all of your years of schooling as quickly as possible. Some believe that if you're out of school for an extended period, you'll forget all of that you've learned. Others believe that gap years are just shorthand for backpacking through Europe for 6 months. And who has that kind of money or luxury? So what are you going to do? Well, let's start with that first point. Gap years are not inherently viewed as a negative thing or negatively by admissions committees or employers, and they are much more common than people think they are. For example, 60% of 2015 matriculating med school students claimed on a survey that they took at least 1 year between college graduation and going to med school. 60%. According to the Gap Year Association in 2015, 90% of those that go on to enroll in a 4-year institution after a 1-year institution do better and are more likely to have retention. Studies show that taking a gap year is not only tied to increases in college GPA, but more significantly, it's tied to improved job satisfaction. And we'll start to unpack the reasons for why that might be throughout the presentation. Keep in mind that this doesn't necessarily mean a gap year is the best choice for everyone. So you must consider what you would do and how you would spend your time wisely, and then decide if this might be the best fit for you. For applications into graduate or professional programs, you will have to be able to articulate how you use that time effectively to gain experiences and reflect on how those experiences helped solidify your decision to go back to school. Let's look at that second myth. There are a wide variation of ages of students entering graduate programs. According to research from the Council of Graduate Schools, the average age of a graduate student in the US is 33 years old. And this number has remained stagnant for the past few decades, going back to at least the 90s. This tells us a few things. First, it means that you do not have to jump directly into a program that you might not be ready for to be considered successful. And that means that successful students are not necessarily going directly into programs after graduation. It also means that there is no specific age linked to academic success, and therefore there's really no rush. Let's take a look at that third point. It may be true that taking an extended year or two long vacation will make you forget what you learned in school. But as I mentioned before, gap years are deliberate and intentional, and those experiences you should be getting are often linked to the field or interests that you have or that you will most likely pursue in a graduate degree. More so, because you're getting hands-on experiential opportunities, you're learning on the ground. You're developing professional skills that other students may not have, and you're getting access to industry knowledge, expanding your worldviews, and more. Because you're finding out more about yourself and your own interests, gap years often help mitigate burnout for those both in academia and future occupation. This point also speaks to why so many experiences increase GPAs and improve job satisfaction after taking a gap year. The next is all about the resume killer or the waste of time myth. So being deliberate and thoughtful with how you will spend your time means that no matter what, it will not be a waste of time for you. Whether it's paid work, internships, volunteer service work, or traveling, you are investing in your own growth. You're gaining meaningful experiences and polishing career skills like communication, teamwork, leadership, and more. Academic programs, much like employers, need students that are self-starters, that are motivated, that have passion, who can work well with others, communicate effectively, and they also need those that can follow through with action and be responsible. These are skills that can't necessarily be taught in a chemistry book and are highly desirable and marketable. These experiences you have in this manner in the terms of a gap year, whether it's big or small, should inherently be resume builders, not killers. And then lastly, let's assume that many assume that you must have money to take a gap year because so many view it as just free time off. Hopefully at this point, I've made the case in that we can all agree by what I've said so far that this isn't true. Not to say you can't spend 6 months backpacking in Europe, but that a gap year isn't an extended vacation. They are not the same thing. You may decide to spend your gap year working professionally or gaining professional experiences while working domestically at an entry-level position associated to the field that you're interested in or in a company that's related to your interests. If international travel appeals to you, you may consider some of the international volunteer and internship opportunities that we have listed on some of our Career Center websites. And I'll show a couple of web pages and point out the resource link and where to access that information at the end of the presentation. But I'll go ahead and note here that many KU students have found success with the Student Conservation Association, or WWOOF, WWOOF. Many find those to be particularly interesting and find success there.
Sam, I had an individual question that said that I really want to backpack through Europe for a couple months after graduation. Will employers look at that negatively?
So I would say not necessarily, and it comes back to how is that meaningful for you? What did you learn? What were your takeaways? And so whether it's language immersion or learning cultural competencies, understanding how to interact in a culturally different space, excuse me, being a global citizen, it's how you spin the tale of that scenario. you're going to do something that you can talk about, that you can expand upon and be well-meaning. So, like I said, you can do those things, but it really comes down to how you, I guess, market it to the person you're talking to. And I think in just a few minutes we'll talk a little bit more about what to focus on when you're taking those opportunities and how to focus your conversations around what you've done. And so at this point, you might be thinking, so if I want to take a gap year, I know I need to be working or volunteering or something, but what exactly should I be doing or focusing on? The key to these gap years, like I've said before, is to find something that's meaningful, that perfect something that is good for you and that will also enhance your application. Though you may be taking time off from a strictly academic pursuit, you must show admissions committees that you have thoughtfully considered your choice to apply for their school, and be it volunteering or independent research or some other work in that field, are great ways to demonstrate that you're committed. So I recommend considering service or volunteer work, exploring international opportunities, or if you're already working in jobs or doing opportunities that you love, continue doing those, but assume more responsibility in those positions if you can. Working or researching in related fields will teach you more about the field itself that you plan on entering, and it's something to write about on your application. It may help you explain why you're motivated to pursue a certain discipline over others, or it might steer you towards unexplored avenues that you would have never previously considered. Finding a valuable mentor, getting a great letter of recommendation, or getting a publication even is some of the potential perks of pursuing a gap year that will help augment your application. And so here are some of those examples and resources for finding these opportunities. Many KU students have found success in using gap years or a single year to join Peace Corps, AmeriCorps, teaching English as a second language, working as an au pair in other countries, participating in language immersion programs to learn foreign languages, and to even explore the arts and build portfolios, whether it's culinary arts, music, photography, or something else entirely. So we kind of separate them through paid opportunity, shadowing or internship, and volunteering. Those are kind of the three buckets I would suggest. And that doesn't mean this is all you have to do or that you can't do multiple of these either. They kind of all intersect. And so let's talk about making them count. The rule here is quality over quantity. So admissions officers want you to not only show the depth of your experience and the longitudinal commitment to the work you choose, but also to be able to articulate how that exposure has informed your motivation for continuing your education and potential future career in the field. So make it matter to you. Admissions committees would rather see you dedicate a year to one really interesting, unique experience that you loved and that taught you a lot, rather than see you complete 5 hours at 150 different organizations. And I always recommend that students keep track of the experiences that they have. And that would include detailed notes or journaling about those experiences. And I would encourage you to write down either daily or on a weekly basis the things that you've done. So if you're starting a full-time job, consider the type of training you received, the career skills that you've learned on the job, your job description and responsibilities, and especially what things you've done successfully or times that you've gone above and beyond. For volunteer positions or internship opportunities, note the organization and the number of hours you've spent there, what you liked, what you loved, what you learned. So why did you choose to do this particular opportunity? What did you learn? What were the interesting anecdotes? How did this experience make you a stronger applicant? And so going back to the backpacking across Europe, if that's what you want to do, think about the people that you're working with. If you have research interests that you're thinking about pursuing, say you want to go into the social sciences, what are some of those theories or topics that you could look for while you're backpacking into these different places? Have conversations with people in the area about those particular things that you're interested in. See what you can learn or what surprises you about their opinions. And you can take that and maybe form a personal statement or research topic into your graduate program. Those are the kind of takeaways that you're looking for there. Learning a new language, of course. Maybe while you're backpacking, you're also working these part-time jobs to support yourself. All great skills are involved in those as well. And so all of this is extremely useful later on, especially if you keep track of it, because you're going to have to talk about these things in your personal statements. You're going to have to talk about it when you're updating your resume and when you're practicing for interviews. So if it's right there, you won't have to brainstorm too hard about it or stress yourself too much about it. And now that I've told you some good ways to spend those long daylight hours while you're not in school, we can talk about some of the other quality uses for a gap year aside from exploring jobs or internships and the like. And we can start with exams. Many graduate programs and professional schools require entrance exams for their application. So it's important to study and aim for a competitive score. And now I want to give you an example of some of the students that I work with. I work primarily with pre-health and pre-med students, so I get to walk them through the application process and timelines quite a bit. One of the most difficult times for pre-med students is their junior year. Many of them are opting to take the MCAT the spring of their junior year, in the middle of taking classes like Organic Chem 2 or Physics 2, all the while trying to accumulate at least 200 volunteer and shadowing hours. They're recommended to start MCAT prep 6 months out from the date they plan to take it. So they're prepping in the middle of their fall semester on top of all of this. And it's an incredibly stressful and taxing time for students. And so they run the risk of maybe not getting a competitive score on the exam, and they don't have a lot of extra time to retake that exam at this point. They also risk sacrificing their grades or not completed the recommended number of hours in order to do proper study and prep. Not to mention, if they don't get the score they want, they might end up rejected from that application cycle, and they have to wait a full year to apply again anyway, while also taking classes to complete their senior year. This is a prime example of why we need to dispel the myths around gap years. A gap year would mean that students have more time for exam prep. Whether you're studying to take the GRE, the MCAT, or even the LSAT for the first time, or you're thinking about retaking it to get a better score, during a gap year, you'll be able to do the prep work without having to worry about added academic stressors like homework, essays, midterms, and finals. You can make a study plan that suits your internship or volunteer or work schedule without those academic pressures, so that you're building this professional skill set, getting experiential opportunities, building your resume, and also dedicating the proper amount of time and energy to exam prep without having to bend over backwards for it. And that's really, really helpful. On top of that, another way a gap year can be beneficial is that maybe your GPA needs some work and you need some time to do said work. Academic metrics are not all that matters when applying, but they do matter. So keep in mind, one low grade will not ruin your chances to get into a school, but if you do have the time and the means, and your grades do concern you, a gap year might be the perfect time to work on rebuilding your GPA, retake those classes that you struggled with. You could spend a semester retaking a course or two at a university to boost your GPA while also building your resume to match. For science and pre-health students, you might even consider doing a post-bac program. I'm not sure that they offer post-bac to non-health related fields, but they might. KU Edwards campus has a post-bac, but it is for the health sciences, so keep that in mind. These are programs that offer a series of classes for students that already have a bachelor's degree, so they're looking at those in their gap year or taking time off. So the more time you have for activities, the more opportunities you have to forge relationships with potential recommenders. Letters of rec are required for many academic and professional programs. Many jobs will also require you to provide professional references when applying. And so building relationships with those that you've worked for, previous professors, volunteer coordinators, and more will be extremely beneficial to you in the future. Maintaining said relationships also goes a long way and speaks to your character. A gap year will give you time to search for and start these opportunities, and put you in contact with people that you can use and build those professional relationships with. Needless to say, being free from the structure of academia means you might also have more time for professional networking, attending career events, saying yes to fascinating opportunities that come your way, and more. It is not unusual to see internships or employment opportunities come from attending a career fair or some other type of networking event, or talking with professionals in your field of interest. Gap years are also a good time for completing informational interviews with professionals in the field. You can take the time to ask those researching or working jobs that you think you might be interested in questions about their career path, what types of experiential opportunities they had, volunteer work experiences that they've completed, and more. This information can help guide your own decisions about how to spend your time and give you a sneak peek into the career you're considering. You may learn that that job isn't what you thought it would be, and that changes your entire future plans without risking any debt or time commitment on your end. Or you might learn that it's everything you thought it would be, and that renews your passion and drive for reaching your career goal. Next, I think we can all agree that applying to schools is expensive. Entrance exams are expensive, graduate schools can be expensive to attend. So working full-time might allow you the opportunity to save money to put towards applications and future expenses while you're getting these skills, while you're making all of these connections and more. So if you have poor credit, rebuilding your credit score might also be something you do during a gap year without the pressure and stress of academia. You might also use this time to set up meetings with financial advisors at your school of interest or see what options there are for you. You can ask about research or funding opportunities for your schools, apply for scholarships and grants during your time off, and have thoughtful discussions with faculty and staff in the department you're planning to apply to. So as an applicant, you will have to write essays, you will have letters of recommendation to gather, you have exams to study for, schools to research, and plus the rest of your life to manage, which could include job or internship applications and more. If you cannot spend the time you need to on application preparation now as a student, it might be better to start getting organized and making plans for what you will need in the future, and then focus your efforts on prepping and applying during that gap year. That would be a good way to spend that time. For those that have worked with students that have taken one or more gap years, they typically recognize that students have benefited from that time to do something productive and gain maturity over their counterparts who haven't spent as much time in the real world. In terms of being a competitive applicant, it becomes less about what school content you know and more about those human components of the job. Graduate schools and other professional programs are competitive, so the more robust and meaningful your experiences are, the better your chances are. Professional competencies that you might want to start looking into or building up would be service orientation, social skills, cultural competency, teamwork, oral written communication, resilience and adaptability, leadership, and/or critical thinking. These are things that can be built into your experiences over the course of a gap year. And for all of our junior applicants out there, admissions committees have acknowledged that younger applicants might suffer by comparison to older, more experienced applicants. This is because younger applicants might spend more time checking off the requirement boxes without spending enough time to get a realistic understanding of the field or career they're pursuing. Schools and employers alike want to know that you understand what you're signing up for and why you are motivated to do so. The more time you spend in these meaningful experiential settings, the easier it will be to focus on your applications since you'll have a more solid vision and a goal to work towards. You will need more experiences and reasons to back up your gut feeling that you just must be in this career when writing these personal statements and talking to committee members. And if you're having trouble now writing your personal statement or struggling to come up with good practice interview answers, this is a red flag that you might actually need more time and experience. Another good use of a gap year is just to enjoy yourself. Yeah, I know I said that this should be about resume building and letting yourself grow, but it's also an opportunity to enjoy life. And gap years provide a unique experience or a unique opportunity to kind of do both. For example, there are many national fellowships that provide funding for 1 or 2 years of service work or opportunities that are only available to recent graduates. So that could be something to take advantage of. Or you might be considering taking time off to pursue a travel internship before going back to school. This There isn't a hard or fast rule that says your experience during a gap year must be unfun or not unique. And in fact, I've made the case so far for the opposite. Those unique and fun experiences might be exactly what you need to stand out as an applicant and bring a unique view to the table, while also letting you build professional skills that committees are looking for. And then lastly, it is just good practice to give your brain a break. In the US alone, burnout is reaching epidemic proportions. And at this point, you may have been in school from kindergarten through college graduation without a break. So it can be beneficial to step away after 18 plus years of school so that you can return renewed and ready to face the rigor of professional or graduate school coursework. Most of us might envision face masks and Netflix when we think about self care, but I would argue that gap years might fit into that as well. And so now I want to go back to those resources that might be really useful to check into or to look at. Here is one of the resource pages we have for student opportunities, which include a couple of international or travel job options. So maybe you're interested in backpacking, but you could do that and potentially have an internship along with it, right? So, of course, there are many domestic and local opportunities listed here as well if you're thinking about sticking around Kansas or Lawrence, even. On some of our other web pages, you can find information on career exploration, prep, internships, volunteer opportunities, and more. And so that website is career.ku.edu/full-time job or jobs, I believe. And I've highlighted the adventure, environmental, and travel jobs and international volunteer and internship opportunities. KU Mentoring is also a great place to go for finding mentors to conduct informational interviews with and have career-related conversations. This platform is designed to put current KU students in contact with KU alums and professionals in a variety of fields that are willing to be mentors. They volunteered to sign up for this platform for students. And so I think it's worth taking a look into. And that website is mentoring.ku.edu, and you should be able to log in with your KU login. I also highly recommend that students check out Jayhawk Ready. So this is another KU platform that houses informational videos, guides, web resources, worksheets, and more for a variety of career-related topics. So you can get information on not only where to find internships or volunteer opportunities, but how to make them meaningful and what to look out for, learn more about what career skills, also known as transferable skills, are and why they matter. You can get tips and tricks for how to do an informational interview and so much more. And of course, our tried and true resource here is Jayhawk or hirejayhawks.com. And this helps connect you as a KU student with employers, our career services, faculty, and staff to help achieve your career-related goals. And you can search for jobs or internships. You can schedule an appointment with a career coach like myself or Kim, or you can view career events that are going on at KU. And of course, you can call our office if you need to. You are more than welcome to set up a career coaching appointment that way or ask your questions. And I recommend following the UCC on social media so that you can get all of those updates about fairs and events that are up and coming, updates, and just some fun content that we have. And I believe that's all I have for the presentation. So yeah, I'm open to take any more questions that might be going on.
Anybody have any questions? I had one here that said, can you talk about, or Peace Corps, are they accepting applications? And I actually looked that up, Sam, and they are taking applications currently for the 2021 year. Let's see, the term begins August 19, 2021 and ends June 19th, 2022. So they are accepting applications, and AmeriCorps is not, a lot of people think that you go abroad always, but they do have within the states that you can do AmeriCorps. And so that's really popular for many students, and you gain valuable skills that way. I don't know if you have anything to add on
Kansas City
that.
is a big AmeriCorps hub.
What's that?
I said Kansas City is a big AmeriCorps hub.
Uh-huh. I wonder if I get that. Does anybody have any questions? Anything that we can, I'm going to put this in here. I think canserve.org/AmeriCorps. I'll put that in the chat. Well, this has been a great presentation, Samantha. Thank you so much. I think there are a lot of myths about what a gap year is, and I loved it that you said it feels just like backpacking across. But I think you made it pretty obvious that yeah, you can go spend a couple months backpacking. Just make it intentional. Figure out what you've learned for that, and we have many ways you can communicate that on your application and in on a resume as well. So that, and that's the same, you hear about students that go abroad for a semester and they're in a completely different field in their major, but they come back with so many different skills. And if you're having a hard time trying to illustrate that on a resume, please let us know, because we can help you with those if you've had these kinds of experiences or if you're looking to get these experiences.
Absolutely.
Let's see. No questions. Thank you. Okay. All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming. Thank you, Samantha, for the presentation. I just want to remind you that on our team's website today, we have information and links to graduate school, which will give you ideas and tips and tricks and so forth and timelines. We also have a video on there about micro internships, although that's not really a gap year. It is another way to get experiences while you're looking for jobs or maybe during the summer or so forth. So take a look at that as well. And then tomorrow ends our last day of boot camp for Resume Week. So make sure that if you have not signed up for a mock interview and you'd like to do so with someone in your particular industry, that you email me and you'll get that information on the team's website. So, okay.